All right, hey everybody, welcome back to another SWICKtech Leading Business podcast. Today we bring on a guest, so you don't have to hear Shane and I droll on about who knows what type of nonsense, although thank you for following along. And on the line with us today is a program director and co-founder of The Commons, Joe. Gosh, I didn't even ask how to pronounce your last name. It's Poeschl. Am I getting it wrong or right?
You're getting it wrong, but I can make it right.
Thank you.
It's Poeschl. It's like special, but without the S.
Oh, that's a good way to describe it.
That's the mnemonic device that now no one will ever forget it. Yeah.
I still say Shane's last name incorrectly regularly, not intentionally, believe it or not, Shane.
Every time.
Well, thanks for jumping on here with us today. You know, SWICKtech is a tech company out of Milwaukee. You know, we're at New Berlin, and you and I have crossed paths on a couple different things. And so I thought it'd be neat to reach out and just kind of cover a year in review-ish with what you have going on at the Commons and the 4M incubator in your role there, kind of how the year started, how you guys pivoted, and maybe even where you see things going. And we'll fill in the conversation from there if you want to start to tell your story, so to speak.
Yeah, Eric, what a wild and wacky year it's been. Pretty, you know, I don't think any of us really prefer to be in the position that we're in, but it's also offered a lot of unique opportunities to do things differently, to think differently about our work, our lives, and promote good change in a lot of these things. So happy to fill in some of these gaps and stories. I guess as like a quick overview for the Commons, we've been working on this thing for about six and a half years now, and really in the name of growing a more vibrant innovation ecosystem in Southeast Wisconsin. We work with a lot of different driven, motivated, growth-minded folks in academia, young professionals, folks well into their careers. We craft unique hands-on experiences for them to kind of explore that entrepreneurial mindset, to build their professional network, and to imagine unique new things that will impact the world. And so you actually mentioned one of our programs that we run and just kicked off earlier this year, the 4M Tech Startup Incubator. That's an initiative of the Milwaukee Tech Hub Coalition and the Commons, as well as another nonprofit here in town called We Pivot. We are the facilitators of this program. We kind of crafted the curriculum and find folks that are wanting to, I'll say, dip their toe into the pool of tech entrepreneurship, being that founder. They want to solve a real problem and come up with a unique solution to do it and probably turn that into a business. 4M is a great first step for those founders to take and to understand then what is next. We ran our pilot program in the spring, and we're just starting our second cohort this fall. Actually, applications are open right now, and got about 2 more weeks to apply for that. It's a free resource for our community and trying to grow that pipeline of tech founders. We run a number of different programs as well, some geared more in the education space, really like looking at the talent development, talent pipeline, getting those young students connected into job and work opportunities here in the region. And then plenty of other professional market stuff, whether it's working internally at an organization or coming up with things like 4M that are more for the professional market at large. And so for the common side of things, it's been a pretty wild ride over 6 years, kind of figuring out who we are and what we really offer for our community. And that message is always, being refined and shifting and adjusting. And you have to imagine that earlier this year, as we were feeling good and running all these, programs and got our list of clients. And while we are a nonprofit, we're one of those like revenue driving, sustainable organizations. And we had our stuff kind of set and it was feeling good. And then one of these, pesky little pandemics hit and you got your world turned upside down. Interestingly, we were in the middle of all of our programming. So our student accelerator that we run, the 4M Tech Startup Incubator, and another program, CoLab, which is like a civic innovation accelerator for young professionals across the city. We're in the middle of all 3 of those programs. We go into isolation, everything has to turn virtual. Everyone around us was asking like, hey, is everything canceled or we put on hold? Eric, you were in that pilot cohort in 4M. You were probably like, what's going on? we took a beat. I think we paused everything for a week or 2 weeks, and like kind of reassessed, like really, what does this look like? How are we going to make these pivots, this adjustment? What are we going to do? And as an organization, I'll speak to the commons. We took it as an opportunity to say, well, we're not going to stop. We're not going to leave everyone kind of out in the cold on this. We're going to put together and still continue to craft the best possible virtual programming we could. And so every one of those programs like took a slightly different shape. We got onto the Zoom train. We were using Google Docs already on stuff, and Slack and all these technology tools that are out there. And fortunately, we work with folks that were pretty capable in using all these tools. Everything that we do has like that technology and innovation flair to it. So it wasn't like too crazy to make the shift. And then kept the thing going forward. And we finished out all the programs and really stretched our own creative muscles, trying to think of how do we adapt? How do we still maintain the high quality, the high touch, the energy, the excitement, the brand that we really bring to all of this? And how do we continue to achieve some of that? And so again, you were right there kind of in the middle of all of it, and got to witness us try a lot of different things and see what would really hit the right marks. I am thrilled to say that we continue to get really positive engagement out of everything, which is like your first key indicator. So people keep on showing up to stuff. That's good. But then continue to get really positive off of our assessments that we do, really good marks on that. And people were still doing what we set out to do. And so they were learning new stuff. They were starting those new companies. They were getting connected into the tech scene here in Milwaukee, and really figuring out kind of how to go from chaos into a little bit more order and growth. And I think that's really what it comes down to at this point is for organizations, you had to do the immediate, let's reassess. Let's take the moments to figure out who we are, what we're doing, really, what is this? How are we going to like maintain and sustain ourselves, right? That's your first order of business. And then it is, all right, what does the new normal look like? Like, let's kind of reestablish a little bit. And then there is that full recovery, that growth that comes after it. Either you're going to do things a little bit differently and find that new path towards growth and success, or maybe you're going to dig your heels in and just do things the way they've always been done and hope that it plays out the same. I think those smart, innovative organizations found that new opportunity and made some of those adjustments, even if small and minor adjustments. You got to do things a little bit differently today. So I'm not sure if I just rambled for too long, but I gave you a little bit of like, as I reflect on what the spring and summer have looked like, it was pretty crazy.
You guys transitioned, at least from the 4M perspective, really smoothly. I mean, the Zoom meetings that you lit up and the fact that you were able to do breakout sessions and have a moderator and control all of that, and then do like pitch day and sharing screens, like it was handled honestly really, really well. The new work from anywhere model where you could work at somewhere, at the business, from your home, from a coffee shop, when we kind of, get to wherever we're going with all of this stuff, I think it's pretty fantastic. Tell me more about like some of the talent you're kind of incubating and harboring or like enabling. What are the schools doing in academia with some of this talent? How are they finding their place in internships and placement and all of that?
Yeah, and that is what's interesting is when we first went into lockdown, I think everyone in our minds, to kind of like maybe as a coping mechanism, we're like, okay, it's be a couple weeks, and then a couple weeks later, you're like, all right, maybe like a couple months, like we gotta give ourselves some sort of time frame to think within. And right now, I think a lot of us are like, come the first of 2021, we're gonna be like, all right back to it. Like, yeah, it's not really the way the world might work at this point, but we were doing that. And so when we went into quarantine and we had both one foot in the professional market, watching everyone go to work from home, and the other foot was in education. And so we watched all those students head back to mom and dad's place and like try to figure out how to do this virtual learning stuff. It was it was quite a lot of chaos all at once. And for students especially, I think it came with a lot of question marks, a lot of concerns, a lot of like, what does this mean for me moving forward? When everyone was trying to figure out like how to get their operation back in line, I was mentioning kind of like that first step for students. I mean, that was like, you're only thinking about your future. You're going to school to get that education, to get that great job, to have that successful career ahead. And so the mindset is purely out, into the future. And to go home and have all of that kind of disrupted, I think that was heavy. And we had, especially in the spring early on there, we connected with a lot of students that are like, I don't, some pretty real conversations about just what does this all mean, and what does it look like for us? So those conversations started to get very tangible when we started to hear from our alumni that their internships during the summer that were slated, scheduled, that they had gotten the gig in like October the year prior, were being canceled and pulled out from underneath them. And I do say pulled out from underneath them. It sounds a little bit aggressive and a little bit like bad, but in some cases it kind of was, where it was almost like organizations were ghosting these interns that had a job lined up for the summer. And so they were like, what is going on? Are you seeing the same thing? Are there opportunities out there? And we were able to pretty quickly confirm that it was an issue across the board. And, a couple weeks into quarantine, hearing these stories, we made the decision that our new normal and how we would react on the education side of things was to spin up a 10-week-long part-time paid internship this summer for students that had lost their gigs due to COVID-19. And we put an application out there and worked with our education partners to make sure that it was going to be a robust learning experience. We worked with our business partners to make sure that there were going to be, engagement opportunities and work opportunities later, to see really how we could do something that would offer some relief there. And in the matter of 2 or 3 weeks, we gathered over 700 applications from students. Wow. across the state. Yeah. And so that like took off very quickly, and we were able to raise funds to support 120 of them. So 120 students this summer, we worked with every Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning for 10 weeks, putting together as best of an internship experience as we could. And again, is probably the most meaningful piece of work we've done to date, just because of the social and economic impact that it created, and very immediately created. I mean, we had students that told us like it was this gig or like not having a place to really live this summer. I mean, that's how fast all of this happened, and that's how dire the situation was for many students. Some of them couldn't even graduate without this internship, because their schools were requiring it. And academia is a little bit slower to make fast adjustments on things. I think now they're getting used to the quick decision making, but at that time it's like, no, it's in our policy. You got to have an internship to graduate, and if you're not going to get that, I don't know what to say to you. So there were some like real immediate needs very quickly there that we were able to relieve. So that was great. Now going back to school, I mean, you have all the institutions are opening up, each with their own set of guidelines and health codes and policies in place. And they really are, each one of them are different, and they had to craft their own and get it approved by the state on an individual basis. So there's little to say about like best practice across the entire board. And I think many of them are well, all of them are doing their absolute best to make this work, to be flexible and respectful of student needs, to still recognize that there are, certain caveats and restrictions and like needs that go along. I mean, you can't learn how to weld via Zoom. You can't, right. You can't use Microsoft Teams to do like a research project in a lab. Like things just don't work that way across the board. And so it really is like, it's a huge challenge. I am not I'm not envious of anyone in higher ed right now, or education in general. And I think many are, they're aware of and respecting the realities of what's going on. And so there still is a lot of adjustment to be made and a lot of that new normal to be established. But it's pretty inspiring to see the creative problem solving going on within the, we'll call it industry. Yeah, so it's quite crazy out there.
That's pretty fascinating to hear, Joe. And I have some connection to higher ed. I'm actually wearing a CU Boulder shirt right now because I worked out there and went to school out there. So anyway, I know a lot of people that work in higher ed, and it's been fascinating to see, to your point, how slow academia has moved historically. And now, you know, most of their revenue was related to in-person life, whether that be the classroom, the dorms and housing, international students coming and living as part of that city, wherever that university is. All of that, you know, was the majority of a lot of universities' profit and revenue. And so to have to, you know, that's essentially just gone right now, right? Like completely wiped out, millions upon millions of dollars in revenue for these institutions. And so they don't have a choice to be slow, right? It's kind of like either pivot, figure this out, or you don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
What I find, go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say, like that is like that is a real issue, and the way the system is designed right now, it comes with those challenges. Now look at that at a macro level. You start to think of it around the talent pipeline. Okay, think of it. I mean, you went to college in Boulder. I lived in Boulder for a while. Awesome city. I went to school at Marquette and Myad. I fell in love with Milwaukee because I was there. I was an active member of it. I was able to go and explore around the city. I got involved in those, you know, clubs and organizations that got me working with the city and actually understanding like what it means to produce impact. I had my internships, all these sort of things that kind of come along with your education. That's the talent retention strategy for a region. Right. We have 24 different colleges and universities across Southeast Wisconsin, each one of them providing their own input, their own pipeline into that talent strategy. And if you start to lose that and it becomes just a digital interface where now any one of those students has no like additional tie to the region, to the businesses that operate there, to the networks, to the meetup groups that are, you know, like that all sort of evaporates. And you start to wonder, again, those students thinking about the future, they start to wonder, where do I fit? Who do I belong with? Like, where's my community? Where are my people? And so we still, despite all of those other changes and the processes and operations that will need to change, we can't lose that component and the connectivity that comes along with that. And so that's where we have both the Commons, 4M, all that other programming that we do. There's such a strong emphasis on that network building, the awareness of what's going on in the community. I'm wearing my Milwaukee hat right now because like you have to constantly remind yourself at this point where you are and who you belong to and where it is that you want to see your energy, time, and impact go. And so as much as we can get students, young professionals connected into that and working alongside other like-minded individuals, you still will feel that sense of community. Eric, I still hope you feel like a sense of 4M community with all of that. And as we welcome our new folks coming in this fall, we don't want them to feel like just, oh yeah, I'm doing this thing in my living room and that's it. We want them to feel like there is a connection that's happening there. And that's critical for your talent pipeline across every industry, your tech ecosystem, your startup ecosystem, all of that stuff. It's like a mandatory piece of it, and it won't go away even if it is going to be virtual for a while. So that's where, like, at a strategy level, that's the thing that can't be ignored. Everything else can change. Everything else can have its pivots and that sort of stuff. But if you lose that element, then it's just like what are we doing?
I think that's the space that innovation can play the biggest role in, where you can flex that, and you have this ecosystem of innovation in a tight-knit community that you've helped create these different facets at different times in the pipe. It's interesting if you look at, the S&P's been not only, I wouldn't say bulletproof, but it's like doing better than it ever has since 1986, and that's because of tech, right? That is because of tech, and everything that's gone remote has like started all of these brush fires of technology that are just emerged, like exploding around the country in different pockets. And I hope that Milwaukee can be one of those areas based on a lot of the work that you're literally doing. And you've literally helped bridge a gap and a need that people needed. Like you actually had a real hand in making that happen for those 120 students that you helped Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, which I think is incredible. A neat thought about culture. This is so silly. I have a story that I had almost even forgot about. But when this all started kind of happening earlier on, my brother-in-law had a birthday, and one of his friends made a point to call everybody that would be in the birthday party Zoom call, and got us a common meal that was delivered to everybody at the same time from DoorDash. So a restaurant that had a national chain. So even though they were in Seattle and we're here in Wisconsin and some others were in Florida, we all got to share at least one piece of an experience together. So we all got our food at the same time. We're all enjoying the food, going, "Oh, this is really good. I love that. And happy birthday, blah, blah, blah." Right. And so I thought that was pretty cool that, they were able to help kind of bridge us together through food, through technology like DoorDash and Zoom. So we got to have somewhat of a shared experience, albeit we were in different parts of the country. And what I loved about 4M was the food. It was always so good. So if there's a way to bridge that and keep that going, that was a pretty neat part of it. I remember bringing some cookies home for my wife late at night on Mondays, and she's like, "Oh my God, these are brownies or something." It was really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's those like communal objects that have existed in society forever that like continues to bring people together, and that's the sort of stuff that we, to your point, can get innovative around and to start to think about how does that look now. So we've got a couple of those little ideas rolling around the back of our heads for the next 4M cohort, and we're excited about those.
That's cool. What type of message do you want to leave folks with insofar as like how to get in touch or involved with the Commons, for people that are leaders in the community from a business standpoint, or people that are on the beginning side of that as students or what have you? Which end of the spectrum can different people get involved? What do you recommend?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. I would say that to kind of go back to some of the previous points that we were making here, I want to simply let everyone know that's listening to this to get involved, to find some way to contribute towards that community and that ecosystem, because for all the things that are pulling attention away right now, I do want to let you know how impactful that is. And it doesn't have to be through our programming or anything, but like there are so many aspiring, driven, motivated people out there that are seeking that connection and that community. And even these simple like 30 minutes like mentorship, hey, I need some advice type calls are making worlds of difference right now, more so than they probably ever have before. I mean, we've all been in those coffee meetings where it's like you walk away, you're like, I don't know if I'll ever hear from that person again. But we still lined them up, like filled our schedules with them, and did that sort of stuff. Today more than ever, those are incredibly impactful and meaningful, and they can be done with a little bit more ease because you don't have to drive to that coffee shop. Still support your local coffee shops. On the Commons side of things, we do have some fall programming coming up. We're launching what we're calling a virtual career accelerator for those students that are wondering, what the heck is next, and what does this all look like for me, and do I have a place to call a future home? We're really leaning into that and creating a 5-week long program later this fall that will bring together as many students as we can possibly find and get supported to go through this thing. There will be a lot of opportunity to engage there. Otherwise, I want to put another plug in for 4M. If you're one of those folks that's you don't even have to have a concrete idea for a startup company at this point, but having the interest and saying like, maybe I can do this. We're really good at helping you identify an area that you care about, identifying an opportunity within that area and coming up with a unique, novel solution for it, and getting you connected into this tech startup ecosystem, making it a pretty smooth entry point for it. And so if there's anyone out there, or if you have a referral, you're listening, you're like, I know that person that would be good at this. We're looking for those last signups to come through. And I think those, we need those by the end of next week. So the program begins September 14th. And so any applications before then, we can work with that. So those are my big pushes. Otherwise, there's a lot of great things happening within the community in general. Some awesome programming coming out of folks like IC Stars, Generator. Always a lot of great startup programs coming up. They've got a cool conference all around social impact and that sort of stuff. Mid-September, and that one's looking really good. The Milwaukee Tech Hub Coalition's always got a slew of programs. I know they've got their Hour of Code coming up. So anyone in the coding tech space, it's a real easy way to donate an hour of your time and help teach younger kids how to code. And they've got curriculum.
We got people on our staff that would probably love that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's an awesome volunteer opportunity and really easy. And they've done a good job pivoting to this virtual environment as well. So we're always looking to grow that ecosystem. So there's a lot of players out there, and continue to encourage people to get involved.
You know, the at-home cozy wear apparel space would be a great time for you to enter yourself into your own program for Jorts. I don't know where that all sits or how much of a joke it really was, but my gosh, now would be the time.
Okay, quick story for everybody. I'll make this one fast because I know I can get into stories. But two years ago now, I was working with a group of we call them our innovation fellows. So that was a summer program that we were running prior to this big internship thing that we did this last year. We had our fellows, a small group that were like innovation tiger team for local companies. And I spent my summer being like a project manager for them. And we started our days with a quick creative exercise. And I would just, try to come up with something off the top of my head. We'd usually be making silly things and whatever. And I don't know where it came from, but one of these days, I was wearing a pair of cutoff jean shorts, which is my normal attire during the summer. And somebody commented on my jorts, one of the fellows did. And they said, well, wait, did you cut those yourself? And I was like, yeah, all of my jorts used to be my jeans. And they're like, well, what do you do with the bottom part? I go, I don't know. I go, well, what could we do with the bottom part? And so that was our creative exercise for the morning. Well, we got so into this thing that all of a sudden we started creating like business models for what this leftover denim could be. And then I shifted my focus back to the actual cutoff, the jorts themselves. And I was like, wait, Joe, my name, jorts, the product, like it's right there, JOERTS. And at that point, it's still a stupid idea. It's just it's a funny thing to say. And I wrote it on the board, but then I looked at name.com and jorts.com was available, a 6-letter domain name that actually made sense for the conversation.
Not for $3,000 either, probably, huh? Wow.
$8.99. And I'm yeah, let's go. And it became real right then and there. And so Jorts is going to be, and I actually, like, Eric, you watched me kind of live every workshop slowly refine this business concept. And I used it as a joke at first, but like, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to be posting on LinkedIn later today that the rest of Jorts is going to come together in this fall's 4M program. Okay. And so the way the business works is it's for the sustainability minded, fashion forward hipster. And folks like myself that live in Bayview, you've seen them all, that want to give a second life to their old jeans. Okay. So I think, and I know we've all got that pair of jeans in our closets. Like, I'm not wearing those too often. They don't fit right. I got a hole in the knee, whatever. You send me your pair of jeans. I go snip, and I attach a limited edition patch to the leg. It says Jorts, and I send it back to you. So basically, I have no inventory because I'm cutting up your old jeans. They already fit. You love them. I'm just giving them a second life and giving them that limited edition, cool fashion flair to it, and basically hijacking the brands of other jean companies. So that's the business. I got to work in the marketing and all that sort of stuff, but I'm going to launch this thing. It's going to be real.
So then what do you do with the leftover leg portion of
I'm
other
taking
people's jeans?
requests. I have heard everything from recycle it into insulation, which seems like a pretty that's actually a thing. Like they use old denim to make insulation for homes. I've heard that to make to have people send in their old jean shorts, send in the jorts, and I reattach different legs back onto them to make.
This is a whole fashion trend. You're gonna have to make a Canadian tuxedo out of one of these. You're gonna end up on a magazine cover wearing a Canadian tuxedo, all denim.
I 100% will. I already have that tuxedo, so we're in a good position for that. I've got a pair of denim sunglasses coming in off of a Kickstarter from Europe. They should be here in a couple of weeks. I paid way too much money for those, but I wanted to support the denim folks that are out there. Yeah, so like it's kind of a real obsession, and
You're gonna have to get like some sort of like portable storage unit parked outside your house. It's gonna be full of jeans like day one.
Well,
I think I have 10 pairs I could put in the mail for you right now. It's that bad for me here.
Yeah, that would be a good problem to have, wouldn't it?
That's pretty cool. Well, thanks for your time today, Joe. We appreciate it a whole bunch. It was really fun talking with you.